Welcome to the Buddhist story of inner peace, a journey into the heart of one of the world's oldest and most profound philosophies. Today, we delve into the essence of Buddhism, a religion that offers a path to transcend suffering and find ultimate liberation. Buddhism, originating over 2,500 years ago, traces its roots to the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, later known as Gautama Buddha. This spiritual path arose during a time in ancient India when traditional practices were centered around the Vedas, ancient Sanskrit texts forming the foundation of Hinduism. Amidst this environment of ritual and tradition, Siddhartha's teachings offered a revolutionary shift, focusing on self-discipline, mindfulness, and the cessation of suffering. Siddhartha Gautama's life journey is the cornerstone of Buddhism. Born a prince, he lived a sheltered life of opulence, shielded by his father from the realities of the world. However, upon venturing beyond the palace walls, he encountered four sights that deeply impacted him: an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and an ascetic. These experiences revealed to him the inescapable truths of aging, illness, death, and spiritual seeking. This profound realization led Siddhartha to abandon his princely life in search of the ultimate truth. For years, Siddhartha sought enlightenment through extreme asceticism and self-denial. Yet he found no solace in these practices. Realizing that neither indulgence nor extreme austerity could lead to liberation, he discovered the middle way, a balanced path between the two extremes. This realization set the foundation for his teachings, which would guide countless followers toward enlightenment. Under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha meditated deeply, vowing not to rise until he uncovered the truth of existence. After days of profound introspection, he attained enlightenment and became the Buddha, the awakened one. In this state, he understood the nature of suffering, its causes, and the path to liberation. The Four Noble Truths, the foundation of Buddhism. Central to Buddha's teachings are the Four Noble Truths, the bedrock of Buddhist philosophy. 1. The truth of suffering, dukkha. Life is inherently marked by suffering. This encompasses not only physical pain, but also the emotional and existential dissatisfaction arising from impermanence and unfulfilled desires. Aging, illness, death, and even fleeting joys that fade contribute to this pervasive suffering. 2. The origin of suffering, samudaya. The root of suffering lies in craving and attachment. This insatiable desire for sensual pleasures, material possessions, and permanence binds individuals to a cycle of pain and dissatisfaction. Craving arises from ignorance of the true nature of existence. 3. The cessation of suffering, nirodha. Liberation from suffering is possible. By extinguishing craving and attachment, one can achieve nirvana, a state of ultimate peace and freedom from the cycle of rebirth. 4. The path to the cessation of suffering, magga. The way to end suffering is through the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethical living, mental discipline, and wisdom. The Noble Eightfold Path, a guide to enlightenment. The Noble Eightfold Path outlines the steps to transcend suffering and attain enlightenment. It is a practical framework encompassing ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. 1. Right view. Understand the Four Noble Truths and recognize that actions have consequences. Acknowledge the impermanence of life and the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. 2. Right resolve. Commit to living a life of nonviolence, compassion, and renunciation. Cultivate loving kindness and detach from harmful desires. 3. Right speech. Speak truthfully, kindly, and constructively. Avoid lying, gossiping, and harmful words that cause pain to others. 4. Right action. Engage in ethical behavior. Avoid harming living beings, stealing, or indulging in destructive habits. Live with integrity and compassion. Right livelihood. Choose an occupation that aligns with moral principles. Avoid professions that harm others or exploit beings for personal gain. 6. Right effort. Cultivate positive mental states and prevent negative thoughts. Focus on replacing ill will, doubt, and worry with patience, generosity, and joy. 7. Right mindfulness. Be fully present and aware of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Recognize the impermanence of all things and develop a deep understanding of reality. 8. Right concentration. Achieve profound meditation and focus through disciplined practice. This state, known as samadhi, enables one to transcend distractions and attain insight. Nirvana, the ultimate liberation. By following the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, one can achieve nirvana, the cessation of all suffering and liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Nirvana is a state of complete peace, free from desire, hatred, and ignorance. It represents the ultimate goal of Buddhism. Nirvana, however, is difficult to describe because it transcends human experience. It is not a physical place, but a state of being beyond all suffering and attachment. Those who attain nirvana are no longer bound to samsara and its endless cycle of pain. The spread of Buddhism. After attaining enlightenment, Buddha dedicated his life to teaching others. His teachings spread across India and beyond, evolving into various schools and traditions. Buddhism took root in different regions, adapting to local cultures and beliefs. Today, Buddhism is practiced worldwide, with major schools including Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Countries such as Thailand, Cambodia, China, Japan, and Tibet are home to vibrant Buddhist communities. Each tradition retains the core teachings of Buddha while reflecting the unique characteristics of its culture. Bodhisattvas and Arhats, two paths to enlightenment. In Mahayana Buddhism, the concept of the bodhisattva is highly revered. A bodhisattva is someone who has achieved the spiritual insight and nearly attained nirvana but chooses to delay it. Why? To selflessly help others achieve liberation. This deliberate act of compassion is seen as the highest form of altruism. The bodhisattva ideal is a commitment to guide all beings out of suffering before entering nirvana oneself. Contrast this with the Arhats, a central figure in Theravada Buddhism. Arhats are individuals who have achieved enlightenment and attained nirvana, escaping the cycle of rebirth. Unlike bodhisattvas who remain in the world to assist others, Arhats often focus on personal liberation, living solitary, contemplative lives. This divergence in focus, communal service versus individual liberation, highlights a key difference between Mahayana and Theravada traditions. The dual existence of bodhisattvas and arhats underscores why nirvana can be challenging to define universally. Is it a state of total withdrawal from the physical realm, or does it include remaining within the world to help others transcend suffering? These differing paths provide unique perspectives on what it means to live a spiritually fulfilling life. The Dalai Lama, a modern symbol of Buddhism. A central figure in Tibetan Buddhism is the Dalai Lama, an institution rooted in the 15th century. The Dalai Lama is considered the reincarnation of the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, a deity of compassion. Avalokitesvara is believed to repeatedly reincarnate to assist humanity in overcoming suffering. This sacred figure symbolizes boundless compassion and is a unifying force for Tibetan Buddhists. The current Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, is the 14th in this line of reincarnations. He was discovered as a child through a traditional process that included interpreting visions and omens. At the age of 5, he was recognized as the Dalai Lama and assumed full responsibilities at just 15. Tenzin Gyatso's tenure as the Dalai Lama has been marked by significant political and cultural challenges. Following a Tibetan uprising against Chinese rule, he fled to India in 1959, where he has since lived in exile. Despite the political complexities, the Dalai Lama remains an international symbol of peace and compassion, advocating for the preservation of Tibetan culture and spiritual traditions. China's relationship with Tibet and the Dalai Lama remains fraught with tension. The Chinese government forbids public displays of allegiance to the Dalai Lama, with severe penalties for those found in possession of his photographs or attending his teachings. Despite these restrictions, the Dalai Lama continues to inspire millions globally, spreading messages of peace and understanding. The challenges of simplifying Buddhism. As we unravel the story of Buddhism, its teachings, and its global spread, it becomes clear that any attempt to summarize such a vast and nuanced tradition will inevitably leave out important details. Buddhism is not a monolithic religion. It is a diverse collection of philosophies, practices, and interpretations that have evolved over millennia. Whether exploring the paths of bodhisattvas and arhats, the teachings of Gautama Buddha, or the role of the Dalai Lama in Tibetan Buddhism, each aspect offers a unique perspective on life, suffering, and the quest for liberation. This richness of thought and practice is what makes Buddhism both deeply complex and profoundly inspiring. For those new to Buddhism, this overview serves as a stepping stone into a world of spiritual exploration. To truly understand Buddhism, one must delve deeper into its texts, meditate on its teachings, and experience its practices firsthand. Buddhism, despite its ancient origins, remains remarkably relevant in today's world. Its teachings on mindfulness, compassion, and the pursuit of balance resonate across cultures and religions. The lessons of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path continue to offer practical guidance for navigating life's challenges. Whether you're drawn to the disciplined path of the Arhat or the compassionate mission of the Bodhisattva, Buddhism provides a framework for self-discovery and growth. And as the Dalai Lama exemplifies, its message of peace and understanding has the power to transcend borders and unite people in their shared humanity. Thank you for joining us on this journey into Buddhism. For those inspired to learn more, continue exploring its rich history, practices, and teachings. Let the wisdom of this ancient tradition illuminate your path toward peace